I also wanted to ask about earmarked dollars. Now, these are dollars that are given to schools with very specific purposes. A prime example is a teacher leadership compensation program. It's a $150 million commitment. Instructional coaches, positions that are aimed specifically at helping teachers improve being teachers, full-time, part-time, or supplemental positions, depending on the school. But it also raises questions about whether the state should be using more and more earmarked dollars as we approve additional funds. For example, a House bill was introduced to allow districts to purchase textbooks with professional development funds. And I wanted to ask about the philosophical and the practical use of earmarked dollars because while there are pros and cons to the approach, I've talked to school districts who say that they feel like they have less decision-making in their budget because of programs like TLC, which is a grant, and they're getting that additional money, but it has to go to that position.
Well, let's talk about the leadership program. That was part of the education reform package that we passed. And part of the reason for that whole reform was that Iowa students were getting left behind. I think probably most of you in the audience can remember when Iowa was #1. We just took that for granted. Well, in recent years, we've slipped our ranking. It's not so much that we've gone backwards, we just haven't advanced as much as some of the other states, and I think everybody concedes that. So we looked at the situation and passed this education reform bill. Part of it was the teacher leadership program, which does add $150 million to the school's budgets, which wasn't included in the figures that you heard from our friends over here. But here's my view on that. Yes, it is debatable, earmarks and so on, but we have just started that program. I don't think it would be appropriate now, we're just going into the third year, to just jerk that money away from that program and say, okay, you got to start, but now we've decided we're going to do something else. We're going to just leave that money available for whatever the schools want to do, and they can eliminate the teacher leadership program if they want to. I don't think that's appropriate. I just had occasion here in the last several days to talk to some of the Indianola school teachers who are in that program. They tell me it's really working great. They're very enthused about it, and they say that the test scores in Indianola schools have been going up here recently. So let's not jerk the rug out from under what may very well be a very worthwhile program.
The teacher leadership compensation program was part of the 2013 education reform bill. I was chairing the education committee at the time. I co-chaired the conference committee that negotiated the final document. And while I disliked a few things that got put into that final bill, the teacher leadership program was something I very strongly support. But it was very clearly understood by people in both houses, in both parties, that that money was to supplement, not supplant. We were asking schools to take on additional duties, additional functions, in addition to all of the other things that they had to keep on doing. So no, when I gave you the figure of $6 increase in allowable growth over the last 5 years, that didn't include the teacher leadership money, because the allowable growth is supposed to keep the schools going, to keep the buses running, to pay the janitor, to keep the buildings heated, to pay the teachers doing their regular duties, all of the other things that the schools have to continue doing. And then we're asking them, in addition, to do the teacher leadership mentoring kinds of things. So I think that, yes, when we put additional state dollars in, it is not unreasonable for the state to earmark to some of those functions. And that does create some constraints for local school districts. The answer to that, the way to ease those constraints, is to provide adequate allowable growth in the general fund so that schools can use those dollars to meet the particular needs of the locality, and then they can do the additional things on beyond that we're asking them to do.
How many of you in this room are teachers? Raise them high where I can see them. How many of you have gone to the store on your own time with your own money and bought something for your classroom? Well, you know what? In my job, if I go and try and buy something for my job, I get a slap on the wrist. I'm not supposed to do that. But the vast majority of you out there do that because you care, first and foremost, about our children. I wish in the legislature we could say the same. We could raise our hand and say that we're doing our part to make sure that you get paid a reasonable salary for the great things you do and the long hours you work, and you didn't have to spend down part of that salary doing what we ought to be doing for you. Now, you know what? Remember the 80s crisis? How many, the farm crisis of the 80s? How many are old enough to remember the farm crisis in Iowa, the 80s? Right, the rest of you need to read about it. Read about that. State supplemental aid, allowable growth. 1982, 5%. 1983, 7%. 1984, 6.10%. 1986, 5.33%. Republicans and Democrats alike in the 80s, and those of you who remember Leonard Boswell, he was the president of the Senate back in those days. Republicans and Democrats alike sat down and figured out and listened to people like you and watched very carefully what was going on in your lives. They trusted you to make the decisions. Art, they trusted people like you to tell us in no uncertain terms what you really needed, just enough and not more, to do the job you needed to do to make education in Iowa #1. And back in those days, those were the toughest economic times we've ever faced, and the legislature ponied up and did what they needed to do, and I got a great education in Iowa back in those days, thanks to the General Assembly of 35 years ago. So it can be done. It's just a matter of deciding that it's important enough to do it.
Well, I'm a believer in targeted funding. And the reason you have targeted funding is to solve problems. And that's what we've attempted to do over the years with the teacher leadership and compensation bill that I worked closely with Senator Cornbach on from the House side. And I think it's doing that. I talked to my superintendent, Sioux City. He loves this program. Sioux City has shown some great improvements with what they're doing. The whole purpose of it is to improve instruction. That's the only way you're going to improve outcomes is improving instruction. So it's allowing teachers to have another pathway in their profession in addition to just teaching if they want to get involved in being on leadership and mentoring and those type of alternative programs and stuff. So I think it's working very well. We're going to continue to evaluate. Now that we have, for the most part, most school districts in the program, we'll take a close look at it to make sure that those dollars are being spent wisely. But that was put into place to solve a problem. Same way with allocating professional development dollars. Same way with the earlier intervention block grant program to provide funds to reduce classroom sizes in the early grades and those type of things. The flexible spending, over the last couple of years, we've been trying to do all we can, working with school districts to free up some of the use of the funds that they have for different purposes. We ran bills last year allowing more money to be for different purposes on the Pebble Fund, the management levy, reserve levy. You mentioned the bill this year of freeing up some dollars with professional development for other purposes and those type of things. So I think that's another thing that we can do to help school districts and allow them to spend money as they feel is in the best interest of their district.
Great, we're going to open it up for questions. And I see a microphone, so perfect.
She had her hand up first, Josh. Back there in the second row, in the back. Right there.
So you can think of education as a spending expense or an investment. It seems a no-brainer to me that a well-educated adult is a resource for Iowa and a less educated adult is an expense. So investing in education is logical. So my question, I was trained as a teacher, finished my master's degree in education, and got a job offer in the corporate world. that was almost exactly double what my teaching salary would be. I spent my career in corporate training. So rather than haggling over 2% versus 4%, where could we find the vision to say, let's attract really, really good teachers so that we're not always trying to fix problems?
Okay, so we just supposed to pipe up?
Sounds like me.
Well, I tell you what, you're exactly right. Back to this $150 million for teacher training. That is such a top-down approach. I mean, when we're cutting teachers, when we're cutting teacher positions, and then classroom sizes are expanding exponentially, I don't understand why we're willing to put $150 million into teacher training so that we can train teachers that are going to get pink slipped because we don't have enough state supplemental aid to hold the thing together. I mean, none of that makes sense to me. We have to make sure, you know, right now I think teacher pay is somewhere around, what, 25th in the nation, we're right around in the middle, half, something like that. You know, I think we need to bump that a whole lot. Texas, look at the state of Texas, what they do. They take kids from the University of Iowa, from Simpson College, and from all the other 27, from his school, Morningside College. And by the way, I'm thinking my friend Ron's going to see the light now that he's been to the best house district in the whole state of Iowa. Texas pays their teachers like the professionals they are. And they give Iowa students an $18,000 signing bonus to come down and teach at a Texas school. And they have the best teachers in the nation. And they pay the best salaries in the nation. And somehow they managed to work that out. And you know, we have the strongest agricultural economy in the United States. If Iowa was a nation, it would be the 4th largest agricultural producing nation on the planet. Now, when you come up with numbers like that, I just don't understand why the state of Iowa doesn't do like it used to do and make decisions to teach their children with the very best instructors, giving them the best tools that they can use to teach our children. Our kids emerge from our public school system, the best educated kids in the entire country. We used to do that.